Okay, so we're going to come into our dominant cross-legged position. Spend some time arranging yourself so that you find really nice balance, you find evenness, you find symmetry as best you can with the asymmetrical cross-legged position. And then take some time to adjust your shoulders back, feeling the center points of your sitting bones, releasing them down, and then maintaining a lift and a spread to your chest. Join your hands in front of your heart and softly close your eyes, looking toward your cheeks, bringing your attention down to the lowest parts of your body, inviting a deeper sense of surrendering, bringing attention to the roots of your thighs, attempting to soften any gripping that's going on there. Inviting your hips to release. Relax your jaw. Soften the belly. And just start to pay attention to your current state this morning, how you're showing up on your mat right now. And just honoring where you are physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically. There's no wrong way to start a yoga practice. And as you're ready, bowing towards your heart, releasing your hands, lifting your head, letting your eyes gently open. And welcome. So we're going to come into a standing practice today with a focus on how the limbs help us not only move the spine, but to bring the spine into good alignment in our poses. So we're going to start from child's pose, just getting the spine nice and long. So you can clear your mat unless you need something for your head. Taking your knees nice and wide so you have nice room between the knees for the torso to come down. Extending your arms so that the arms are not only straight, but we don't have anything but our hands touching the floor, meaning not the wrists, not the forearms. Inviting the tailbone toward the floor. So the monthly practice that we follow, the cycle of the posture sets, takes us from the periphery of the body toward the core. So we're going to use the limbs, kind of bringing our attention back to the periphery, start of the month here, and how they can help us really move the spine and align the spine in the poses. This attention to the limbs is important because a lot of times in our poses, we don't understand really why the alignment points are what they are. And so hopefully this practice will bring a little more understanding to the placement of the limbs in the poses and how they affect the spine. Just taking a couple more really nice full exhalations here. And on an in-breath, you can start to come out of child's pose, but we're going to keep our legs tucked under for Virasana, for hero pose. And we'll be doing our 6 actions of the spine from hero pose. So you want to make sure that your shins have enough padding. So you might put a blanket down. You want to make sure your sitting bones have support. And also, because we're going to do some work with the arms, we want to have an available block behind us so that we can touch the floor without having to lean back. So put a block behind you, kind of right directly behind your center. And then take care of the alignment. You might have to play with the flesh of your legs so you see your kneecaps are all 4 corners evenly pointing forward. Your toes are evenly pointing back. And once you've kind of created the position, just take a few moments to place your hands to the soles of your feet, which invites your shoulders to sit back. Remember, we want to always invite the shoulders to move from the flesh of the front shoulder toward the back to get that external rotation. Tailbone moves in, skull aligns above the spine. Just a few breaths here, feeling the alignment, anchoring into your legs, anchoring into your outer shins. And then keeping that sense of foundation. Inhale and raise the arms. Good. And now use the arms, we're going to use the arms to create extension in the spine. So you're going to move your hands back, which invites extension to your spine. Your eyes will start to kind of track up the wall as you arch back a little bit here. And just try to sense that the action of the spine has really originated from moving the arms back. Of course, we could arch our back without the arms, but we're really trying to sense how these limbs work like levers for the spine. They're much more efficient than just moving the spine directly. And now just move your arms slightly forward and watch how the spine responds. We take on a little bit of a roundedness, a little bit of a forward bending element here. And then you'll just do a few with the breath. Inhaling, the arms lead the spine into extension. So take the arms back. And then moving the arms forward, let that lead your spine into forward flexion. Of course, this isn't going to be your deepest forward bend or your deepest back bend. So we're just trying to get a little understanding here. The arms working as levers to bring that action to the spine. Just a couple more. And then you'll return your arms just to a neutral overhead position, and on an exhale, we'll come into a twist, taking your left hand onto your right thigh and your right hand on that block you've placed behind you. Try to keep your spine tall. So if you don't have that block behind you, you probably end up leaning back, which will kind of distort the position here. Notice how we're twisting our spine, but that twist would not be as good without the support of the hands, the arms, working to give a lot of resistance to help the spine turn. So you might just play with pressure on and pressure off with the hands to feel how much support you're getting from the use of the arms here. And after your next exhalation, raise the arms and come back to center. And we'll exhale now to the other side. So your right hand to your left thigh, left hand behind you. Good. Inhale, raising both arms back to center. And exhale, release your arms down. So now I want you to try to do a lateral movement with your spine without the use of your arms. So inhale here, exhale, come into lateral movement. So it's just not as deep, not as expressive, not as much resistance, no dynamic action, no lines of energy. So it's a little bit dull. So we're going to come back to center. Inhale, raise the arms. Exhale, now extend to the left. And the weight of the arms is putting good stress on your spine to keep this lateral movement. So a lot of times in yoga, we talk about energy coming out through the fingertips. I just want you to kind of invert that today, and the limbs are bringing energy into the spine. So we're moving from the outer body inward today. Our attention is kind of on that effect. Inhale, center. And now exhale, gently lengthen to the right. And just sensing the arms helping the spine deepen into the crescent shape as it allows, as your spine is ready. Try not to bow out the bottom arm, which can happen here. Keep really strong extension in your elbows. And then inhale, center. And exhale, release. Beautiful. So we're going to release our legs in downward facing dog. So you can start to move your things aside that you needed for your hero pose. And then prepare yourself in table pose once you've done that. Make sure the knees have come out hip distance wide. Your feet are also as wide as your knees. And then take all 10 toes underneath, feeling the tips of the toes shooting toward the front of the mat and the heels pressing back. And on an exhale, go ahead and extend the legs slowly. And really try to roll your inner knees back and really try to open the backs of the knees to relieve that deep flexion from Virasana. Now we're going to play with the leg affecting the spine. So on an in-breath, raise your right leg into Eka Pada Adho Mukha Svanasana, so simply one leg, downward dog. And from this lifted leg position, start to bend your right knee and start to roll your right foot toward the left wall. So you're using the weight of the leg to help you extend your spine and point your spine to the right. So it kind of looks like dog at the fire hydrant, which we will allow here just for that effect of getting the spine extended and getting rotation. And you're using the heavy leg to help you do that. You can rotate back, extend the leg, touch down with your toes. Inhale, raise your left leg. At its peak height, you'll bend the knee. And again, now you're going to point your hips to the left, using the weight of the leg to help you turn the spine, to help you get the spine extended more in the upper spinal area, the thoracic. And then go ahead and turn back, extend the leg and touch down and tiptoe toward your wrists. And then just begin to dangle here like a ragdoll position. Make sure your feet are hip distance apart. Your knees can be bent. If your hands touch the floor, grab your elbows just so you can really work with some nice weight to help your spine decompress here. And then you might just simply start to drift from side to side, which helps you kind of target the backs of the legs individually. And dropping your hands if you had them lifted. You're going to help yourself come up to standing. And once you're standing, join the legs and feet if you can, otherwise keep your legs and feet hip distance. And we're just going to hold for a couple moments in mountain pose. I'm going to just adjust my camera a little bit. So see if you can tap into the weight of your arms, supporting a release in the shoulders. And then complement that with the resistance of your spine moving up toward the ceiling, out through the top of your head. Sometimes I bring the image of a pine tree here. We have that strong tree trunk moving skyward, and all those boughs that are attached to the trunk just gently falling toward the forest floor. Good. And let your eyes blink open. You can shake your limbs out if you need to. So we'll come into our standing postures, a lot of emphasis on the arms. We'll do a little bit more with the legs as well. But we'll place the blocks just so we have them ready for triangle pose. So you can, if you'd rather work with a chair seat, you can also always substitute a chair seat if you need a little more height under your hand. Feel free to jump out. If you prefer to step out, you can do that. We'll go ahead and spread the feet nice and wide. And then we're going to move from the root of the right thigh, turning the right toes out. Turn the left toes inward, left heel out slightly, which probably turned your hips. So we're going to use our arms like levers to turn the spine. So bring your left hand back, your right arm forward. Notice how that helps you realign your shoulders and hips to that nice long edge of your mat. A big in-breath here. Exhale, extending toward that right block and taking the block under the right hand. Go into your stacked arm position. So we're going to use the arm to help us get our spine into alignment and into a little bit of extension right behind the breastbone. So that stacked up left hand, I want you to move it toward the wall behind you. Feel how that arm works like a lever to help you bring your chest into a more open position. It also guides your torso slightly back. We're not trying to keep the arm angled back. So once you have your spine in position, return your arm to a more vertically stacked position, but keep the effect on the spine. If you lose that feeling of openness in your chest, you can let that left hand fall back again, which will help the chest move forward. So use your arm like a lever. This will be a lot harder to do without the arm. Good. So even though our head is not a limb, it's also peripheral. So you can also adjust the spine by bringing your whole head back. So you can also play with, imagine you had a big bun on your head, like a knob, someone gently pulls your head back, which helps you align the pose. Good. Strongly inhale to bring yourself up and out of the pose. Good. Turn the toes forward and then jump or step back in. Return yourself to mountain pose just for enough time to check in with your breath, to regulate your breath if it got away from you a little bit, to sense any after effects from what you just did. Maybe feeling some differences in the left arm compared with the right arm. I know I do. But whatever you're feeling, try to notice it. And then as you're ready, we'll prepare for second side, left side. So you can jump or step out. Try to move from the root of your left thigh. So it's not just the toes turning, it has to come from the origin, moving from the root of the thigh. Right toes turn in, right heel moves out. Big in-breath here. And then lengthening into kind of the gross, rough shape. So we don't refine it until we get in there. So you're just kind of roughing out this triangle pose. So use that right arm to help you move your spine. So take the hand to the wall behind you. Feel how the effect shows up in the spine, the chest kind of opening. Helps you turn and rotate the torso from left to right. And then once you feel you have it, return to your vertical arm. And anytime you lose the effect, you can go back and work with the arm as a lever. Also play with the head. Move the whole head back in space to help you bring your torso more into alignment with the space you have identified between your feet. So we try to exist, the torso, we try to really keep on the line that we've established from left foot to right foot. Nice. Take an in-breath and use it to lift you out of the pose, keeping the integrity of the spine as much as you can. Turning the toes forward and then jumping or stepping in. And finding Tadasana. And let those heavy arms, use the weight of the heavy arms, tap into it. Release the shoulders. And then resist up against that through the crown of the head. Observe your breath. And don't try to tamp it down if it's a big panting breath. Be there long enough that your smooth, easy breath returns. Nice. Okay. So now we're going to come into warrior two. So you shouldn't need your blocks for that pose, but we are going to bring it into side angle pose. So you will probably need your block for that unless you use your thigh for your forearm, which is a modification, as you know. You can keep your blocks there if you know you'll need them for side angle. And you're going to find your way to right side. So spread the feet again. Coming into a stepping or jumping. Good. And then we'll turn again from the root of the right thigh. Right toes out, left toes in. Again, use your arms to adjust your torso back into alignment. So move the arms together, like big levers helping you turn the trunk. Inhale here, exhale, take the knee above the ankle without losing the verticality of your spine. We don't want to tilt the spine. So anchor into that outer left foot. Turn your gaze, only your gaze, but resist your torso from turning with your eyeballs. So you're trying to wrap the right side ribs toward the left side ribs. The arms will help you keep that going. You might actually move your left hand, exaggerate it, move it back, the right hand forward to encourage that. So you can play with this. Feel free to move around in space. Feel how the arms help you. Of course, that's not the pose, but we can play with stuff to kind of tap into those movements. Once you have the torso rotated where you want it, make sure the arms come back so they're parallel, you're not angled. And then take another in-breath and exhale. Now extend the spine to the right. You're going to be moving into side angle pose, propping your hand to the block or resting the arm on the thigh. Taking that left arm overhead, revolving the arm so your left palm faces right, and then moving that left biceps next to your left ear. I want you to roll the whole left arm toward the wall behind you and bring the right arm slightly forward or toward the wall in front of you. I'm using the limbs to encourage the trunk, to encourage the spine. Good. And now see if you can keep the integrity of the spine as you inhale back to Virabhadrasana 2. And then on an in-breath, go ahead and straighten out your right leg, pivot your toes forward, and jump or step back in. And come back to Tadasana, lowering your gaze, allowing the breath flow, whatever it is. Nice. And we'll try second side. Go ahead and find your way to a nice wide stance. Turning the left toes out, right toes in, right heel out slightly. Using those big arms, that big wingspan. Just play with it, moving kind of forward and back with both arms, using that to rotate your torso. When you're all squared up, shoulders and hips, inhale strongly here, exhale, left knee above left ankle, keeping the torso in a vertical position. And you can keep steering your left arm forward, right arm back to encourage that rotation of the torso we need to maintain so that we don't do what passively wants to happen, which is the opposite rotation. And again, once you have the alignment in the trunk, make sure your arms come back where they're supposed to be. Good. Big in-breath here. And then exhale, lengthening to the left. You might rest your arm on your thigh. You might find that block right under the shoulder line. And then come into a vertical right arm. Move from the root of the arm so your palm faces left. And then bring that right arm next to your right ear. And I want you to just gently try to move your right arm toward the wall behind you. Maybe pressurize the left arm a little bit toward the front wall. And feel how these arms can direct, influence, and move the spine. And when you have the feeling in the spine that you want, that you know is in integrity, then make sure to come out of that distortion, which you only used to move the spine. You're not trying to distort the poses or change the poses. You're just trying to influence the spine. I'll see if you can keep the spine as you have it. Keep your legs where they are. Inhale back to warrior two. Still feeling that openness across your chest. Still feeling squared up in the hips and the shoulders. Look across those left fingertips. And then straightening out the left leg. Aligning your toes to point forward. And then finding your way back to Tadasana. Just being quiet for a few moments in deep observation, really allowing yourself to notice anything that you're sensing or feeling or noticing here. Maybe comparing the arms, noticing the breath, of course. Now we're going to move into Parsvottanasana, and we're going to use a strap. And we want the strap to fit around the wrists, and we want the wrists to be wider than the shoulders. So that's kind of the size you're going to go for. Once you think you have it, try it on, and you'd like to see not parallel arms. We don't want to be at our widest. So the wrists are just slightly wider than the shoulders. And to prepare, once you have that, we'll leave the blocks set up nice and tall to the right end of the mat. So because we're working with the strap, and some of us have the long strap, and I don't want you to trip or stumble, we're going to put the arms into the strap first, and we're going to only step the feet. We're not going to jump. So you're going to just place your arms behind your back in that loop that you've created. And it's fitting around your wrists. And then you can step yourself wide. And you're going to pivot so that you're facing your blocks. Your right foot is a 90-degree pointing toward the right end of the mat. The left foot is about a 60 to 80-degree angle, the toes to the heel. And then we're going to work with our palms facing the floor. Okay. So first, just find your really straight and firm legs. So you're squeezing your thigh muscles. You're going to take a nice big in-breath here. And on your exhale, angle forward so your trunk is as level with the floor as you can make it. Resist your arms up. And notice how that works like a lever to push your shoulder blades toward your chest. Try to angle your thumbs up, even though they want to kind of rotate down. Take the arms up as high as you can. You're just kind of imprinting here. And then on an in-breath, you're going to come up, come all the way up, come out of your strap now, just put it down on the floor. And then you're going to recreate the position even though the strap isn't there. Yep. Inhale here, exhale forward again. Lift the arms as high as they go. Use them like levers. And then try to keep what you've gained from doing that. This is the hard part because now we're going to bring our hands onto the blocks. We're really going to want to collapse in the chest. But see if you can keep what you've gained, that feeling of openness and spread across the chest, and bow into Parsvottanasana. Remember, your torso aligns with your forward leg. Keep trying to lead the sternum forward, even though it's, not as easy to do now that your arms are down here. Now see if you can inhale back to your Ardha position, your half position, concave or flat lumbar. Bring the arms back behind you, bring them as high as they go. Get that chest really forward. And then inhale, come all the way up. And you can pivot yourself wide. Extend your arms. Jump or step back in. Close your eyes. You're back in Tadasana. And just imagine you have a heavy weight attached to every single fingertip, bringing some momentum of downward kind of heaviness to the arms. And then again, imagine your spine resisting that, shooting up at central axis, moving toward the ceiling. And then we'll open our eyes, move our blocks to the left, and then find our strap again around our wrists. When we bring the arms down for that second part, that obviously has a forward extension influence on the spine. So we have to kind of double up on our efforts because we don't have the kind of the obvious influence of the arms putting us into extension. So you can step yourself wide, pivoting left toes toward the blocks, right toes in, but slightly also towards the side of the mat. Try to get your palms level with the floor. Firm up your legs, big inhale, exhale, extending into your half or your concave position. So we're starting roughly with the arms level with the floor. Now take the wrists higher than the shoulders and notice how that there's no other choice for the scapula but to move into the chest and to spread the chest as the effect. And you're just hovering there to try to imprint that on your body. Good. And then inhale up and out of there. Slide your strap off of your wrist, drop it to the floor. Reach the arms back again without the strap, still kind of recreating that effect. Inhale here, exhale forward, bend halfway. Take those wrists any amount higher. Get that chest really broad into the sunlight. And then see if you can maintain some of that as you find your blocks and bow deeply over the left leg. Good. Take the arms back behind you. Come back to your concave lumbar position or the flat back position. Your arms are at their max kind of peak. And then inhale, come up. And pivot yourself back to a nice wide stance. And you can jump or step yourself back to Tadasana. Refining this pose. Every time you return, all of our poses, we have some bad habits. We have some kind of default settings where we just kind of go to conditionally, not because we're trying to refine the pose. So just really bring the awareness through the body. Scan the body. Compact your thighs front to back, the buttocks back to front. The skull perfectly floating above the spine. Lifting from the chin to the base of the skull. Releasing the full weight of your arms. Evening out the feet. And then when you're ready, letting the eyes open. We're going to use the arms to really help us get a nice deep revolving triangle. On Friday, we're going to come into revolving side angle, which is more of a, I consider it a more challenging pose, but they're both challenging. And today we're going to just feel how the arms can help us with the revolving triangle. So you can make sure your strap is out of your way. And we jumper step our way out here. Nice wide stance. Go ahead and find your hands on your hips for now, and we're going to arrange the legs. So we're going to, actually, I'm sorry. I want to use the arms to actually help us turn the legs. So come back to forward feet, go back to extending your arms. And then you're going to use your arms to carry your legs into position. So move your arms toward the right end of the mat and help yourself pivot into that position. Good. Now we're going to bring both arms up. We're going to come to Parsvottanasana where we just were, extending over the right leg and placing your hands to your blocks. Place the blocks evenly to the inner and outer right foot. And make sure your nose is just right on top of your foot so you know you're aligned. Cut the outer right hip back. Try to roll that outer right hip back because it wants to bunch forward. And now keeping your left hand down, take your right hand off your block and just let it dangle and see about trying to turn your trunk to the right. It's really hard. It's not enjoyable. We're up against a lot of resistance. There's nothing to carry the spine into that rotation. There's no lever. So come back to your block. Come back to Parsvottanasana. Then start with your right hand on your right hip. Use the elbow to start some of that momentum. So squeeze your right elbow toward the left end of the mat. That's going to help you start the momentum. You're turning your chest to the right. The elbow's moving to the left. Then begin to stack the arm in space and let the weight of the arm fall back. Just like you did in triangle. This is revolving triangle now. But use the weight of the arm falling back to help move the chest forward, to help revolve the flesh of your trunk from left to right. Use that, capitalize on it. Once you have your spine and trunk where you want it, then bring your arm back to position, back to verticality. Remember that the head we can consider a limb. So we want to use the crown of the head, take the back of your head toward the left edge of the mat as well. Come to the top of an in-breath, and then slowly begin to come back to your block. Nice work. See if you can extend your arms forward, and then on an in-breath, bring your arms up, and back to parallel with the floor, and then use the arms to help you turn back to a wide position. Good. If you're not going to trip on anything, jump or step back in. Otherwise, just carefully make your way to Tadasana. Dropping into that pose. Each time we revisit during one practice, the wise actions are definitely more spontaneous. But we still always want to be vigilant for those habits, those conditions, those default settings in our bodies. And then we'll transfer our blocks to the left. And just jump or step yourself wide. Remember, we're going to use the arms to help us turn. So you're going to take the left arm back, the right arm forward. That's going to help you move your legs into position, move your hips, your shoulders. Raise the arms up. And then lengthen forward, Parsvottanasana. Place your blocks evenly around your left foot. Steer your torso so you're aligning your chest with that leg. Your face is right over your left foot. Spend a little time here. And again, with a kind of a floppy, passive left arm, just kind of drop that off your block. Let it dangle there. Do your best to kind of turn yourself with that arm dangling there. It's not fun. It's hard. There's no dynamic action, in other words. So bring your hand back to your block, recenter yourself. We'll prepare for the good version of revolving triangle now. We'll take our hand first to our left hip. We're going to work with the elbow moving toward the right. It's going to help us turn. We'll get enough turn that we're eventually able to take the arm up without it causing any ill effects on the pose. And then we're going to drop that hand back to help use that arm weight to help plunge the shoulder blade into the chest. Use your head as well. Take the head a little bit toward that right edge of your mat. And then refine it. Once you have the action position that you want in your spine and your trunk, then refine the limbs to their placements. Come to the top of the in-breath, and then exhale back down to your block. And once you're stabilized, reach your arms forward. And inhale, lift yourself up, open your arms wide, and then use the arms to help you rotate back to your wide position. We'll jump or step it back, and you're back in Tadasana. Just dropping in, lowering the gaze, receiving the breath, observing your body. Notice all those tiny micro movements your feet make to keep you standing upright. Sometimes if your feet are joined, you notice a circular pattern happening, kind of revolving over the soles of the feet. And as you're ready, let your eyes blink open. Now, I told you we'd do a little bit with how the legs affect the spine, and we're going to play with that with Warrior 3. So, blocks back to the right. And we'll come through Warrior 1. So go ahead and jump yourself wide, step if you need to. Turn your palms up, and then use the arms to airplane into Warrior 1's stance, facing the right edge of your mat. With the palms up here, take the arms into a nice parallel position. Move your hands back, and there you have it again, pushing those shoulder blades forward, moving the spine into extension, which we want for Warrior 1. Firm your legs. Take an inhale here, exhale the knee above the ankle. Remember to engage your strong pelvic tilt so that you don't end up with a hyperextended lumbar. On an in-breath, go back to straightening your right leg. We're going to pivot off of the left heel, putting the left heel in line with the left toes. You're going to start to bend your right knee, lengthen your torso and your arms forward over the right thigh. And then go ahead and take your blocks, because we need to work with this pose a little longer today. So even if you can balance, you're going to work with your blocks. Step a little closer with the left foot, and on an exhale, raise your left leg. So we're working with a level leg. The leg should be level with the floor. Your block should be evenly spaced under your shoulder line, and your foot is behind the blocks, but it's centered in the middle space between the blocks. Now see what happens when you raise your leg higher. It puts you into extension. When you drop the leg, it puts you into flexion. So just play with that. Raise your leg higher and lower your leg and feel the effect on the spine. And then once you've felt that, let's take a little rest. Put your foot down. Dangle for a moment. Hands can stay on blocks. You could grab your elbows. You could let your arms hang, whatever feels good. We just want to rest here because we're coming back to that raised leg. We want to work with a fresh feeling, not a tired feeling. And then when you're ready, on an exhale, you're going to raise your right leg again. And now I want you to feel what happens when you take your right leg out to the side, wider. Imagine your torso, you've just put yourself in lateral movement of the spine. So your spine is crescent moon. Now take your leg over in the opposite direction. Same thing, lateral movement. So use your leg to steer the spine. Once you're back to center, you might go up, you might go low, but I want you to find your perfect warrior 3 position for your spine. So that means you have to find the right placement for your leg. So your spine is in integrity. And then slowly float the foot down. Bend your knees, take hold of your hips, and come all the way up to mountain, right where you are. Join the feet if you can, always in mountain pose. Otherwise, keep some spacing. And closing the eyes, looking down, drop the shoulders, drop the weight of the arms. So when we're standing upright, you can open your eyes and face the camera. When we're standing upright, the arms really influence the spine more than the legs do. But when we went into warrior 3, we're starting to move toward inversion where we get upside down. And we've taken the weight of the leg off the floor, then we can influence the spine that way. So it only makes sense that when we're in inversions, which we don't do a lot in this class, but I know some of you do, the legs manipulate the spine. The arms still do as well, but the energy of the legs, the placement of the legs have a strong effect on the spine. So I wanted you to definitely feel that with your legs, even though we're not inverting today, that the legs are just as important and influential. So we'll put the blocks over off to the left side now. And then feel free to jump or step yourself out. Turn the palms up. Use the arms to help you pivot into your warrior 1 position. And once you're there, then take the arms overhead into Urdhva Hastasana and drop the hands back, which pushes the shoulder blades forward. Start with nice, firm, straight legs. Inhale strongly. Exhale, left knee above ankle without losing the integrity of your spine. Good. So without disturbing as much of this as you can or can't, pivot off of your right heel, align it with your toes. Extend over your left thigh with your chest. Put your hands on your blocks, step in with the left foot. And on an exhale, I meant to say right foot, I'm sorry. On the exhale, raise the leg. And now you're gonna play. So play with it. Take the leg higher. Sense the spine and what's happening in the spine. Visualize your spine. Take the leg lower. Rounding the spine. Not only feeling the shape, but feel the energetic effect. Raise the leg. Lower the leg. Do it one more time just to really feel it. That lever, that giant lever. And yes, I say lever and lever because I still don't know which one it is. Go ahead and place the foot and take a little rest. Take a little rest. You might bend your knees. You might dangle your arms or grab your elbows, whatever feels really good in your body right now. And now we'll play with the lateral movement by moving the legs side to side. So once you're refreshed, on an exhale, extend that right leg back up again. And from a pretty level position, neutral for the spinal extension and flexion, now start to wave your leg wider and narrower. And see if you can visualize how your torso looks. If you were floating over above your body, what your torso looks like, but also sense the feeling of it. And and how it would be a lot different to do this without the influence of that big leg moving around in space. And then come back to center and just holding a warrior 3 for a moment, just with the hands down today. Visualize the spine and feel the spine. And then place the leg. Go ahead and lower the leg when you're ready. And come back up. Put yourself in mountain pose right where you are. And now we'll find our way down to the floor. We're going to come onto our backs. We're going to do a bridge pose, so try not to use a blanket if it's absolutely agonizing for you to go without a blanket for bridge pose. Of course, use one. Just keep it minimal. So we are going to play with taking one leg up and creating a little bit of an inversion effect, using the leg as a way to give the spine support in this pose. But first we want to just find a good, strong bridge pose without raising the leg. We want to tap into our baseline bridge pose first before we ask anything more of ourselves. Sometimes it's not a good choice to do more. We always want to do kind of the most mild version first, just to see how things are going. So feel free to palms down, arms extended. Your hands are close to your heels. You've walked your heels in nice and close. Your toes are in front of your heels. Make sure you're not toeing out or doing what we call a duck position. Is it duck? Yeah. So make sure your toes are right in front of your heels. Pressurize your hands. Try to roll the shoulders down and lift the shoulder blades up. And on an exhale, raise your hips. And we're going to spend a few breaths here just trying to really step into the feet. Roll the inner thighs down by really stepping into your big toes. Attempting to keep your knees only hip distance wide. Now you might be right at your kind of peak effort, which means you're not going to raise your leg today. Someday you'll try that. If you are going to raise your leg today, you'll start by taking your right foot off the floor and lifting the leg up, and you'll know right away if this is a good choice or a bad choice. So yes, it's more intense as far as effort, but my leg is actually helping me lift my hips and spine. So the effort is for a good cause. If the effort is just kind of wearing on you and it's making your pose worse, not a good choice. So you can lower your foot, walk your spine down. We're going to come through reclining child before we attempt a left side or a second side or a second attempt. So pick up your feet, grab your knees or your shins or your thighs, and make yourself into a little ball. You might grab your knees directly and massage your lower back by circling the knees. If you do the circles, just try the second direction so you get both sides addressed. If you don't raise the leg, there might be an in-between moment where you could just play with a little extra weight, this time into your right foot, a little less weight on your left foot. That would be a nice intermediary step if you want to kind of start to play with shifting weight to one leg so that we can raise one leg eventually to help us lift the spine. This is kind of a precursor to shoulder stand where the legs lift us to keep the spine, instead of telescoping toward the floor, to keep the spine light. So we use those legs to keep us light. So go ahead and step the feet back in. Extend your arms, pressurize your hands, roll the outer upper arms down, lift your shoulder blades up, tuck your chin into your chest, smooth out the lower back so it's not overly arched, and on an exhale, lift your hips. Hold that for a few moments, really anchoring into your legs. And now stepping additional weight into your right foot. See about raising or lightening the left foot And if you can take it up, you're going to reach that leg higher. It's going to help you lift your hips even higher. Of course, there's more effort happening in the right leg, but it's for a good cause. And then if you did it, you can touch down, roll the spine down. And again, finding reclining child. Any soothing measures you need here. So you might do the circles, you might do some rocking, you might do happy baby at this point. This really intuitive movement, because we're going to come into Shavasana. We want to really kind of soothe the body here, quieting down. Before we do, just a little bit of twisting action for the spine. Always important after we follow up with a twist after a back bend. So we're going to do windshield wiper legs. Your feet on the mat nice and wide. Your hands to your belly, your knees together. And then just rocking on your feet. Let the knees fall right, your head roll left. Move through center with knees, with your face. Let your knees fall left and your head roll right. Lingering in those exhales. Inhale center, exhale sides. Now just kind of self-guiding. Maybe you need a few more, maybe you need something different. Maybe you're ready to start setting up for final resting pose. So really just tuning deeply inward to what your body is requesting right now. If you need to come up to set yourself up, make sure to roll to your side first. Maybe dimming the lights, maybe covering your body with additional blanket. Maybe adding something behind your knees to support your back releasing in this pose. And then take some time once you're in the final resting pose position, take some time placing your limbs in a way that supports the length and the evenness along the spine. Make sure your feet have come wider than the hips, that your legs are passively turning out. Your arms are palms up, shoulders down. You rocked the skull a few times from side to side to encourage your neck to elongate. And when you've taken care of the alignment points of the pose, the next piece is just signaling the whole body into a surrendered state. So tapping into your own heaviness, sensing the heaviest parts of the body, and just encouraging their weight to really move into the floor, the skull, the hips, the femur bones, the thigh bones, the heaviest bones in the body. Use that weight. And as a result, the lighter parts of the body respond with additional lightness. Face, the chest, the belly. Most simply put, this pose is a cycle of noticing and allowing over and over again. Noticing and allowing. Feel your 5 points resting, your limbs, your skull. And maybe inviting a softness and a lightness to the spine. The spokes of the wheel. riding the wave of eternal presence, which is your breath. Checking in if this practice has left you with an afterglow versus an aftermath. Did we practice with ahimsa, non-harming? Let's take a deep cleansing breath just to help you draw yourself out of the pose. Maybe another one, or maybe coming back to easy breathing. Letting movement begin at the outermost points of that 5-spoked wheel. Letting it trickle inwards. And then bringing movement to the limbs by folding the hands in onto the belly, bending the knees, and easing yourself to one side. And from your side, use the support of your hands and your arms to bring your spine upright. Once you're seated, join your hands together in front of your chest. Extend your fingers slightly out away from your chest. Pull the shoulders back. Pull the face gently toward the back of the head. Lift the corners of the mouth. Let's just take a deep breath in and let it go. From the place within me that I know to be divine, I honor that place within each of you. Namaste. All right. Good work, everyone. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to seeing you again soon, maybe Friday. Thank you so much. Bye.